Coaching is really like being in the passenger seat with somebody. It's asking them questions in such a way, and sometimes sharing like intuitive hits to try to get people to be honest with themselves. People want to be successful. I mean, I really don't think people go to work every day thinking, I really hope I really suck today. 30% of people in the US are engaged. Worldwide, it's only 13%. And so the idea about how do we help people be successful at work and engage them so that they're bringing their emotions and their passions to work, that's universal. And I love that feeling of an excited office.
Welcome to Experts and Authorities, the show featuring excellence in small business and entrepreneurship. I'm Lynn Hawks, your host, and with me today is Keith Baldwin, Strength and Leadership Coach to small business professionals and rising entrepreneurs. Keith Baldwin is a professional strengths coach certified by the Gallup Organization and the International Coaching Federation. He helps business leaders build strong teams, clarify their vision and objectives, and execute high-leverage strategies that lead to maximum production. Keith studied multiple aspects of the financial services business, earning designations such as CLU, CHFC, and CPCU. Keith helps clients identify their natural talents, turn those into strengths, and focus their strengths on high-leverage activities that engage work teams and drive profitable business results. So welcome, Keith, all the way from Anchorage, Alaska.
Thank you.
I'm excited you're here in beautiful Palm Springs.
It's wonderful.
A long trip? Yeah?
Not so long.
No?
No, it's you get on a plane and you wake up and you're here.
Yeah. You come down here often, though, I understand.
I'm down in the California area pretty often, yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so we're talking about strengths coaching and the employment environment or the workforce environment. So give us the bad news. It's pretty bad.
Well, the bad news is Gallup research shows that only about 30%, so 3 out of 10 employees in the average organization are engaged at work. And by that I mean that they're passionate about what they're doing, they have an emotional connection to the outcomes of the company. And the rest of the other 70%, about 5 out of those, don't really care. It's another day, another dollar. Thank God it's Friday. They just can't wait for the week to be over.
You hear that all the time.
I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And then there's usually a couple of them that are actively disengaged. They act out their frustrations at work. So they may be the ones that tell the neighbors about what a horrible company it is to work for, or don't ever buy anything there, or they drag down the morale of the whole office. Mm-hmm. I read a blog one time that described it perfectly. That if you think about a boat rowing down the river with 10 rowers, that you have 3 people rowing, 5 people just watching the trees go by, and 2 people are trying to sink the boat.
That is so descriptive.
Yeah.
And it's just sad.
Yeah.
Now talk about the global numbers. You were talking about the American numbers, but do these numbers translate also globally?
Yeah, Gallup researches this worldwide, mm-hmm. and globally the amount of engagement is only 13%. So it's even worse when you look at global productivity. Huge cost.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking about cost. So bring this down to my little firm.
Yeah.
What is this costing me in dollars?
Well, so when you think about the Gallup's research around just the U.S. economy, that it's about $500 billion a year in lost productivity to organizations across the United States. So if you think about an entrepreneur that has maybe 15 employees or 20 employees, and if you have somewhat similar amount of engagement versus disengaged, just imagine that even half your workplace, even if you're better than the global average, so half your workplace is marginally engaged, and you're paying each employee $50,000 to $60,000, $70,000 a year, that money's just flushed down the toilet. Mm-hmm. And if they're in a sales position or in a customer service position, it also impacts customer retention and new sales, and so the cost is pretty huge to a small business.
Optimum productivity, we're talking about that right now, is critical across the board, but especially when times are a little tough. We have to make the most of every minute, of every dollar. Tell me about the aha moment that managers experience that moment when all of a sudden they realize it's not just same old, the wheels are falling off, I'm headed for the cliff. Describe that transition or that awareness in the managers you meet with.
Yeah. A lot of times it starts becoming to their awareness. They start wanting to act on it when they start seeing the numbers plateau or go down. Retract numbers because the numbers tell the story about what's happening in the office. But what I've seen is that people really know that they have this issue before the numbers tell the story. Like they know in their gut when they're driving to work and they don't want to walk in the door. And they're thinking, what problem am I going to have today?
As a manager, that could be lethal.
Yeah. And we talk about disengaged employees. I mean, so when you have a disengaged manager who is leading employees, you're going to have disengaged employees. And so I think they know in their gut before they even see the numbers.
So when a manager realizes, I need help, how do they normally start this process?
Well, we've all heard of the carrot and stick.
Yes.
And so a lot of times they start thinking about, I need to really draw the line on the employees, or I need to figure out maybe if I, gave them a bonus, or, maybe if I just call the meeting together and tell them, okay, you guys need to pull things together and make sure we hit these numbers by the end of the year. So a lot of times they just dive into what they know, because most of us have been going through an educational system that was based upon some sort of carrot and stick type program. We enter the workforce and we have other managers who use a similar approach. And so, a lot of times they don't know what to do. They just know things aren't right.
When they've tried this carrot and the stick technique and realize it's not working, that's when they call Keith Baldwin. In a minute, we'll continue the conversation with Keith Baldwin about his solution to this situation that's happening all around us. I'm Lynn with Experts and Authorities. We'll see you in just a few seconds. Welcome back to Experts and Authorities. Again, today with me is Keith Baldwin, professional strengths coach. So we've kind of set the stage for the state of affairs in most businesses, but you have a solution, Keith. Before we got on camera, you were talking about what you love and what you hate when you walk into an office. Describe that to us.
Yeah. I hate going into an office and just feeling the energy being so low, and you see people just waiting for the day to get over. Like you can tell they don't want to be there, and you can tell nobody's happy. They just can't wait to get out. What I love to do
Dull.
Yeah. What I love to do is just go into an office where everybody is like fired up and excited. They may be working a lot harder than the other office, but they're excited and having fun. I mean, work can be fun, focused fun. And I love that feeling of an excited office.
Now, isn't it interesting? They both have the same basic environment. They both have the same hours in the day. So what's the difference? What's happening there?
Their manager.
Yeah,
certainly there are some people that are in jobs that aren't a good fit for them, but pretty much all of Gallup's research is that the key factor that impacts employee engagement is the person that is leading them, whoever their direct manager is.
And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's not.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how do you know all this? How did you get to where you are right now?
Well, I was one of those disengaged employees. I was absolutely miserable at a point in my life, which really led me to where I'm at right now. And so I was going to work every day just thinking about, all the stupid things the company was doing or the managers were doing or saying. And I had a collection of other people around me who were also miserable, and we just fed on each other's misery. And so I was one of those people and became very unhappy until I kind of hit my, I guess what I call my midlife crisis, when my wife and I got in a big argument. She finally, about work, because I was so unhappy, she said, honey, just quit. No job is worth being this miserable for.
Wow.
And that's when I started thinking, well, quit and do what? And that led me on my search of trying to understand. I mean, we spend so much time at work, 40 to 60 hours a week. What are those elements where you can create that motivation within you where work can be an exciting place to be? And that led me on the journey that took me through a lot of research, a lot of years of identifying how do you create that environment for others and for yourself.
All of that research brought you to the place where you decided you really wanted to help others and become a professional certified coach, doing everything right and really really helping these teams. So step us through that process.
Well, the foundation of everything I do is strengths. And, Gallup's been researching, how we become effective for 60 years. And, and kind of the idea is that no individual is well-rounded, but teams must be well-rounded. And so what I do is I help first managers identify what are their natural strengths, like what are they naturally good at. Some people are very strategic in their approach. Other people are are great communicators and very, focused on building strong relationships. Other people are competitively driven. And so we all have these unique strengths. And so helping people understand those strengths and really separate it from the outcomes. There are certain things we need to do to be successful, but how we do them is going to be different from person to person.
And so you are able to do that, and give us some of the tools that you use. It's not just woo-woo stuff in your head. I mean, you have tangible steps that you take, I'm understanding.
Yeah. So about 11 million people so far have taken the Gallup Strength Assessment. And so I use the Gallup Strength Assessment to help people identify their natural talents or natural strengths. And so they go through about a 30-minute assessment. And a lot of people say it's a test. It's not a test. There's no right or wrong answers. It's an assessment that identifies these natural talents. Some people are maybe stronger in executing. Other people may be really strong in relationship building or influencing others or strategic thinking. But there's 34 different strength themes that this assessment helps people identify. And then we start learning about how do I now use these to get the outcomes that I want.
And along with this strengths assessment, you have other tools that you use or you implement. Is there like a course that they take? Is there one-on-one consulting? I mean, how do you actually engage with your clients?
Well, I have the managers take the strength assessment, as I mentioned. I also use the Gallup Q12 employee engagement assessment. Gallup's identified 12 different areas that really have a positive influence on how engaged employees are at work. And so we have the employees take that and then use that as a foundation for the manager to develop a strategy for engaging his employees. And what we actually do differs from person to person because every office and every manager is different. But the foundation is there are some well-researched fundamentals that we need to cover. And so each manager needs to look at how do I most effectively do this.
When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Keith Baldwin and learn how he actually executes the program and the results that he has seen so far. I'm Lynn with Experts and Authorities. Come back soon. Welcome back. I'm Lynn Hawks with Experts and Authorities, presenting excellence in entrepreneurship and small business. And with me again today is Keith Baldwin, professional strengths coach. Keith, a coach is a coach is a coach, but you are so not the coach. I've just enjoyed talking with you and learning about what you do and how you do it. Step us through a little bit when a client comes to you and they say, I need your help. What is that process like?
Well, I remember Stephen Covey one time talking about the problem is a lot of times we diagnose or we prescribe before we diagnose. And so although there are some foundational things that I've already talked about, the strengths piece, I spend at least an hour talking to people and trying to diagnose with them what the issues are. And what I find is, and this is where what coaching really should be about, is that oftentimes people know what their problems are, and oftentimes they know that problem starts with them. And so the part of the coaching is pulling that out of people, not me telling them what I think they should do before we really diagnose the problem, but trying to pull out of them where we think we should start.
And you used off camera, you used an analogy of a coach is not someone who tells somebody what to do, but points them in the right direction. What was that again? I just...
Coaching is really like being in the passenger seat with somebody. And so it's not driving what they're doing. It's asking them questions in such a way and sometimes sharing like intuitive hits to try to get people to be honest with themselves about what they're doing, where they think they're lost, and how they think what they're doing is impacting results.
I'm sure that you have some pretty typical questions when someone comes to you or you meet someone.
Yeah.
The first question out of their mouth is, "You've given me two. What is the top one?"
Well, it's pretty funny. A pretty common one is because people know I'm talking to a lot of different, like insurance agents or other entrepreneurs. And they want to know what sort of bonus system are they using, like these top producers using to get their results.
Results from their team.
Yeah, from their team, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, good clarification. Yes. What sort of bonus system are they using to get the results from their team? Which is really the wrong question, because all the research around motivation is that money is not a good long-time motivator. Sometimes short-term is okay. Money's a motivator to the extent that people feel they're being fairly compensated. Mm-hmm. So it could be a dismotivator if they feel they're being cheated, but really money is not the answer. Instead, it's factors like helping people see that they're making progress, help people learn how to be successful in their role. People want to be successful. I mean, I really don't think people go to work every day thinking, I really hope I really suck today at work. So the idea is, how do we help the employees be successful is really the right question.
Yeah. And what is the second question that you're asked quite often?
Well, it's I think there's this frustration level because people are thinking, why don't my employees just do what I ask them to do? Mm-hmm. Like, I've told them that we're selling this XYZ product, or I'm told them that this is their role here, I want them to do it. Why don't they get it done? And the problem is oftentimes is that we're not spending enough time with employees to help them learn how to be successful. And by that I mean really taking that outcome and drilling it down to what is it that if an employee does every day, or every hour, that we know will drive their success. And so we want to help employees understand, what are those things that are within their control, that if they do them repetitively, so things that are simple that they do consistently, that drive results. And so helping employees see, or your team members see, that if I do these basic things, like every day and consistently, day in and day out, that I'll be successful in my role, mm-hmm. That's really what drives results.
Consistency, you use that term, which mm-hmm. I think it's the bane of everybody.
Yeah.
Just being consistent.
Yeah.
You can't just do it once, you have to be consistent. And the other thing I think I'm sensing from you is when you come into a group, you are an objective, almost like a third eye. Give me a success story.
Well, like I had this one insurance agent that hired me that was already successful, but he knew in his heart that he could be more successful. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting. He said, I have a great team, but I know that I am not leading them in such a way or helping them be more successful than what they are. Mm-hmm. And so what I loved about working with him was that he was looking inside, thinking, how can I be more effective at helping my team be more successful? And and he ended up doubling his results over about a year after we worked together. And it really was because of him going back to those fundamentals and doing those things that a lot of times he knew that he should be doing, and doing them on a consistent basis. They weren't complicated, they were fairly simple, but that he did them on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm. And you've just said something that I think is so important. We very often push the onus or the responsibility onto others.
Yeah.
My team is stupid. My team needs to work harder. It's their problem that I'm not doing well. When you said at the beginning of your show, it's all about the manager, and then they can influence the temperature or the climate of their company, right?
Yeah. And the idea that sometimes managers just avoid the conversations because a lot of times they're busy. But kind of what they miss is that key thing that they're part of the role. There's an old management saying part of the role is to get their work done through people, mm-hmm. but the other part of the role is to get people done through the work. And so if they change their focus to how do I develop my people in the context of this role, that will lead to success.
When we come back, we'll learn how you can engage with Keith and increase your office productivity and become a super successful brand on your own. I'm Lynn with Experts and Authorities. Come back in just a second. Welcome back again. I'm Lynn Hawks with Experts and Authorities, and again, we're talking with Keith Baldwin, professional strengths coach. Coaching isn't for everybody. Your style of coaching is not for everybody. It's not easy. Okay, tell me about that.
Well, I think we all get bombarded with emails, spam, or could even be emails we subscribe to. But a lot of times there's this flavor to them that, do my easy 1, 2, 3 program and your results will turn over overnight. Mm-hmm. And really, we're working on changing human behavior. And
that's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
We have habits. I mean, it's really neurological habits that we've developed because we've done things a certain way for sometimes years. And so to try to change our own habits as the entrepreneur or leader first, and then to change other people's habits, it's not easy. And so it's not a quick fix program. This is for somebody that really wants to invest themselves into the program.
It's an investment of time, and it's also an investment of emotion and really digging deeper.
Yeah.
It's not just to scratch the surface, like you said. I'm okay, you're okay. It's all going to be fine. Not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times people ask me, well, what's this going to cost? And that's really the wrong question because they're thinking about money. Because if they really apply themselves, their return on investment is going to be multiples of what they would ever pay me or another coach or consultant.
Yes.
What's really is the question of how much time is this going to take me, and am I willing to invest the time to do this?
Those are the big qualifiers.
Yes.
I think.
Yeah.
So tell me who your ideal client is. We want to eliminate the tire kickers.
Yep.
We want to eliminate those people who kind of sort of want to do better, but it sounds like too much work. So who is your ideal client, Keith?
Somebody who is committed to the process, similar to what I've talked about at the beginning of this segment. Somebody who knows that they're part of the solution and they're part of the problem. And I would say that for myself too. I'm always part of the solution. I'm always part of the problem. And they want somebody to help guide them through that process, and they're committed to taking action. And at first, for some entrepreneurs, it's going to feel like more work because a lot of times they're doing so many things they really shouldn't be doing. And so we have to shift them into what I call high leverage activities. So things that they're good at or can get good at, things that they like doing, and things that have the biggest impact on the bottom line of the company, which often is going to be working with their team because that's really the biggest high leverage activity they can have.
You come from the field of insurance. You spent your career in the insurance industry, and you kind of crashed and burned in your own head.
Yeah.
And which brought you to this new career, this wonderful position of coaching others. So your expertise really is you understand the insurance office mentality, the expectations, the goal setting, and all of that. But in addition to that, your expertise segues into other business entities or endeavors. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Because the idea about employee engagement is universal. I mentioned 30% of people in the U.S. are engaged. Worldwide, it's only 13%. And so the idea about how do we help people be successful at work and engage them so that they're bringing their emotions and their passions to work, that's universal. But I visited hundreds of insurance offices over about a 10-year period, and I really started feeling this real difference of energy. In one office would be really negative, another office really positive. And so it really became fascinating when I was studying motivation and coaching, just about, how do you create these climates where people are thriving at work?
And you bring those tools to an office, whether it be a chiropractic firm, an insurance firm, a law firm possibly?
Yeah.
Okay.
And really anybody that has employees.
How do I start to work with you? What's the first step?
Well, the first step, so anybody watching this, that's a great first step because it gives you an idea about whether this is a good fit for you as a business owner or entrepreneur. My website is keithbaldwin.com, and so opt in there. And there's a resource guide that will help you just implement some of these ideas right away in your office. And then if this seemed like a good fit, there is also a contact form to reach out to me to do a strategy session. And during that session, it's kind of a two-way discussion where I'm trying to diagnose maybe what the issues are. I'm also trying to see if you're a good fit for what I do.
Nice.
Most of the time there is, but I have had a few people that I've told you're probably not a good fit for what I'm trying to do. At the same time, I would hope that you'd be looking at me going, is he a good fit for what I'm trying to accomplish?
Right.
Because I only want to work with people really that are committed to the process.
You said something off camera which is really, really key, which is if the audience can take away one thing and do one thing, what is that?
Start.
I love it.
The whole thing about engaging employees is start having some regular conversations. Get focused on the weekly team meetings with the team about how can we all help each other be more successful, but also meet with your employees individually, monthly, and ask them, what do you like best about your job? Where do you think you're like really knocking out of the park? Where do you thrive? Where do you struggle? And let's talk about this. And then how can you use what you're successful at and maybe part of the roles that you're in right now to be successful in other areas? And so really it's about starting the conversation and being consistent. Remember, I went back to the idea about simplicity and consistency, and having those monthly developmental conversations with employees is key.
That's just wonderful. With that optimistic note, we're going to leave you today. For more information, visit keithbaldwin.com. I'm Lynn with Experts and Authorities. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again on the next segment.